Damon stared thoughtfully at the monitor. His restaurant was only a month old, and there was no way to hire real security yet. Of course, he was well aware that employees could steal, but he couldn't let anything go wrong because of it. Damon had been saving up for years to open the restaurant, and now, when everything was going even better than he had planned, he watched as his cleaner carried a large bag of groceries to the exit. Damon stood up firmly. Stealing should be stopped at once. Strange, of course. She didn't look like a thief, but apparently she was very clever at hiding her true face. The man lived literally 3 intersections away from his restaurant, so he quickly pulled up to the back entrance, turned off his headlights, and began to wait. The restaurant had finished work 10 minutes ago, so the cleaner girl would be here in a couple of minutes. Kimberly carefully adjusted a diaper. "Well, you, my little sweet girl, behaved yourself today? Be patient for a little while. Now Mommy will walk a little bit, and she will take you home." Kimberly checked everything once more. The holes made in the bag were open. Molly was comfortable. Kimberly had fed her an hour ago, which meant that the baby would sleep well. She understood this was not the right way, and if someone finds out, then they just take away her daughter. But there was no other way. Kimberly's milk was disappeared at once after giving birth. Infant formula was expensive, as well as diapers and other kids' stuff. The young mother did not know where to get money. And then she had heard about the opening of a new restaurant next door. When she came for the interview, she hadn't yet figured out how she would be able to perform her duties, but she really needed the job. The neighbor agreed to look after Molly only 3 times a week in exchange for Kimberly cleaning her house. The other days, Kimberly should come up with something. And soon she had a plan. It was unrealistic, but Kimberly saw no other way out. Molly was only a month old when she took her to work for the first time. The baby was quiet, sleeping peacefully in the back room. There was plenty of space and light, too, and Kimberly kept it clean. Kimberly was left without parents as a child. She lived with her grandmother, and she did all the house chores by herself from the age of 10. At 19, she met Paul, and he won her over at once. She didn't just fall in love, she went crazy. Grandmother had been gone for a year, and the young woman suggested that Andrew move in with her. He agreed. However, as soon as he found out that Kimberly was pregnant, he disappeared in an unknown direction, taking all the valuable things that were in the apartment. Kimberly did not go to the police. She was so ashamed that she tried not to go out at all. And soon another unpleasant thing happened. Bad people came to her. They wanted her to sell them the apartment. She wasn't going to sell anything. And they threatened that she could be accidentally hit by a car in the street, and then her baby would be orphaned. The same day she lost her milk because of fear. And that's when Kimberly understood that now the real ordeal begins. Her new job was just a salvation. She was paid every week and had enough for everything. Kimberly tried not to think how she would be able to work when Molly would be 3 to 4 months. She was setting herself up for good. She is strong. She is smart. She will cope. Kimberly carefully put the bag, closed the door, turned around and found herself nose to nose with the owner of the restaurant. She looked at Damon in horror, and he sternly ordered, "Show me what you're carrying in the bag." No restaurant can survive after stealing such bags of food. Kimberly went pale. "I've never stolen anything. How dare you say that?" Damon even laughed at the insolence of the cleaner woman, trying to pretend innocence even after being caught red-handed. "How dare I am? Are you kidding at me? Show me what you're carrying in your bag, or I'll call the police." Kimberly sighed. There was nothing to do, especially as Molly began to move in the bag. The woman sat down, opened the bag, and Damon gasped. "A baby? Is she yours? Are you working with a baby?" Meanwhile, Kimberly took Molly in her arms and asked with doom in her voice, "Am I fired? Wait, what's the matter with you? Let me give you a ride. How far do you live?" Kimberly shook her head and said that they lived in the next house. "Well, then I'll walk you. Give me that bag." Damon realized that Kimberly was taking such a little girl to work for a reason. He himself had been through a very difficult time with alcoholic parents. If he had not been taken away by his child protection authorities, who knows, maybe he would have become like them. They reached the house, but Damon had no intention of moving away. He went up to the right floor with Kimberly, and when the young woman looked at him menacingly, said that he would have liked to have a cup of tea and talk. Kimberly shrugged her shoulders. She did not mind the tea. The woman quickly changed Molly's clothes, made her formula, and fed her. When she entered the kitchen, Damon was already making tea. He looked at her cheerfully. "Excuse me, I've been a bit of a host here." Kimberly sat down and realized how tired she was. Not even physically, but emotionally. All this tension. Will he know or not know? Will he kick out or not kick out? Suddenly she started to cry because of all the burden she had. Damon sat down across from her, moving her a mug of hot tea. "Well, now tell me everything, from the beginning. Where were you born, studied, and so on?" And Kimberly told everything about her grandmother, about her fiancé, about the fact that he had stolen everything of value from her. After her story, Damon looked at Kimberly and said, "Okay, for a few days don't go to work. I'll find someone. And then we'll have to figure something out. And don't worry, I won't leave you in this situation. After all, you did the dishes very well. Well, I'm going to go now. Good night." Damon got up and left swiftly, and Kimberly didn't even have time to thank him. She sat a little longer and went into the hallway to close the door. There were several large bills on the nightstand. Kimberly leaned against the wall and cried again, deciding that she would definitely return the money to her boss later. But the next day she was forced to spend some of the money after all. Molly had a fever. The doctor prescribed medicine and vitamins, and the young mother had no choice but to go to the pharmacy quickly while Molly slept. Kimberly had just closed the door behind her when the doorbell rang. Her heart began to pound. The woman thought it was Damon. She mechanically glanced in the mirror and opened the front door, but immediately tried to close it. Unfortunately, the man's foot prevented this. "Well, hello there, single mummy. Why are you so bad at welcoming guests?" said the man ominously as he entered the apartment. He was followed by another man and a woman. They seemed like hosts in the living room, and the woman began to arrange some papers on the table. Kimberly told them all to get out, or she would call the police. But no one listened to her. Well, well, call them. Just keep in mind you're signing your own verdict if you call the police. Think of the baby. Besides, every day you persist, your apartment is getting cheaper. So the sooner you agree, the more money you'll get. The man said the sum, and Kimberly laughed nervously, even though she was terrified. "Are you kidding me? That's the cost of the balcony in this house." The man grinned wickedly. "You can say no as long as you want, but you'll say yes anyway, only then you'll get even less. If you get anything at all." "Get out! I'm not going to sell anything." At these words, the man began to walk dangerously towards Kimberly, who shrank back in fear. But suddenly the stranger jumped up and collapsed to the floor. Behind him stood Damon. He turned to the people at the table. "Anyone else need to explain that the apartment isn't for sale?" The guests quickly disappeared, and Damon turned to Kimberly. "Why didn't you tell me anything about them?" "I didn't know they were coming again." replied Kimberly, who was still recovering from her shock. She looked so frightened that Damon's heart squeezed. "Pack up. You are moving to my place. I'm hardly ever at home anyway, and you'll be safer there for a while. God knows what those bandits might do." Kimberly obediently went to pack her things. 15 minutes later, they were leaving the apartment. At that moment, a neighbour looked out. "Kimberly, what's going on? Did Molly's dad appear? And don't I have to babysit Molly now? And won't you come to clean up any more?" Damon smiled affectionately, but added in a stern voice, "Good questions. Yes, now you'll have to clean up your own mess by yourself." The neighbour slammed the door, fearfully with thought, "The man is a beast. Poor Kimberly have the misfortune to get mixed up with such a man." Molly looked at Damon's large apartment. "It's beautiful here," she muttered. "You should have seen it when I had just bought it." "By the way, this will be your room," replied Damon, and opened the doors. Kimberly noticed the man's robe. "But this is your room. This room is big and warm, so you and your daughter will live here, and I'll move into that one." And he pointed to a door on the other side. Kimberly was very uncomfortable, but she didn't have time to object because Damon had already left the apartment. Kimberly laid out her things, then went into the kitchen for a drink of water. There was a pile of dirty mugs in the sink. It looked like Damon was only drinking coffee at home. The woman washed the mugs and looked in the fridge. In an hour, the meatballs were languishing on the stove, the potatoes were boiling in the pot, and Kimberly was cutting salad, smiling at Molly, who was lying on the kitchen sofa. The door slammed, and a dishevelled Damon rushed into the kitchen. "It smells amazing, and I'm starving. But I want to show you something first. Follow me." Kimberly grabbed Molly in her arms and followed. There was a new crib and stroller in the living room, and a couple more bags were inside the crib, apparently with clothes in them. "Oh, why, I don't have that kind of money. I don't know when I can return it," mumbled Kimberly. Damon smiled. "Women are strange creatures. Who's asking you to return the money?" After dinner, Kimberly and Damon began to rearrange. Damon fooled around and Kimberly laughed. Even Molly, who was lying on the big bed, was having a lot of fun. At night, Kimberly did not sleep. Damon did not sleep either. He suddenly realized that now he felt so good. In the morning at breakfast, he said, as if in passing, "By the way, we should get married." The knife fell out of Kimberly's hands and bounced on the floor. "What did you say?" It was all she could say. "We should get married. Molly needs a father, and you need protection too." Kimberly looked at him with huge eyes. "I never thought that proposals could be like this." Damon put his fork on his plate and looked at her. Well, what could he tell her? That he'd fallen in love like an idiot with a woman with a baby who was cleaning in his restaurant? He tried to find the right words, but Kimberly suddenly reached across the table and kissed him, softly, gently. Damon felt as if he was electrocuted. He took his phone and called. "Can you manage without me there? I have an important meeting. I won't be in today." "The cleaner?" "Yes, hire a new one. Kimberly won't be working anymore."